There are two neighbors. Both work the same kind of job. Both live in the same neighborhood. Both drive similar cars. But one of them, quietly, without any announcement, is building serious wealth every single month. And the other one, barely keeping up with bills. The interesting part? The wealthy one doesn't look wealthy at all. No designer clothes. No flashy watch. No Instagram posts about their financial journey. They just live their life. Quietly. Strategically. And here's the thing that might surprise you. That invisibility? That's not an accident. That's actually part of the strategy. Today we're going to talk about 15 ways people build real, lasting wealth without anyone knowing. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you're going to look at money completely differently. Most of us grew up thinking wealth was something you could see. Big house, fancy car, nice vacations. If someone looked rich, they probably were rich, right? Wrong. There's a concept in personal finance called the wealth illusion, and it works like this. The people who look the richest are often the ones spending the most to look that way, which means they're actually building the least wealth over time. Think about it. If you earn $10,000 a month and spend $9,800 trying to look successful, how much wealth are you actually building? Almost none. But the person quietly earning $6,000 a month, living on $3,500, and directing that gap into the right places? In 10 years, they're sitting on something real, something serious. The financial world has a name for these quiet builders. They call them the invisible wealthy. And their biggest secret isn't some complicated investment strategy. It's actually a mindset, a way of operating that most people never even consider. So let's break it down. 15 ways they do it. Number 1, they live below their means, but not miserably. Here's the first thing to understand. Living below your means doesn't mean living like a monk. It doesn't mean eating plain rice every day or never going out with friends. It just means there's always a gap between what you earn and what you spend. Think of your income as a river. Most people build a lifestyle that dams up every single drop of that river. The water comes in, the water goes out. Nothing accumulates. The invisible wealthy? They let a portion of that river flow somewhere else. Into a savings account. Into investments. Into something that grows while they sleep. Even a 15% gap makes an extraordinary difference over time. And nobody around them notices, because they still live well. They just live intentionally. Number 2, they don't announce their financial goals. This one is backed by psychology, and it's fascinating. When you tell everyone about your financial goals, I'm going to save $50,000 this year, or I'm investing in real estate, something strange happens in your brain. Your mind starts treating the announcement itself as a form of progress. You get a small hit of dopamine just from saying the goal, and that little reward actually makes you less likely to follow through. Researchers call this social reality. Your brain can't fully tell the difference between talking about doing something and actually doing it. The quiet wealth builders? They skip the announcement. They just do the work, silently, and let the results speak, usually years later, when the numbers become undeniable. Number 3, they automate everything they can. Here's a truth about human behavior. Willpower is a terrible financial strategy. Deciding every single month whether to save money or invest, that's a battle you'll eventually lose. Life gets busy. Unexpected expenses pop up. Your emotions fluctuate. And suddenly that money you meant to put away gets spent on something forgettable. The invisible wealthy remove the decision entirely. They set up automatic transfers. The moment their paycheck lands, a portion quietly moves into savings, into an index fund, into a retirement account. They never see it. They never miss it. It's not discipline. It's design. Number 4, they invest consistently, not perfectly. Here's a mistake almost everyone makes when they first start thinking about investing. They wait for the perfect moment. They think, I'll invest when the market is low, or I'll start when I have more money. But the invisible wealthy understand something called dollar cost averaging. And it's beautifully simple. Instead of trying to time the market, which even the world's greatest investors can't do reliably, they invest a fixed amount every single month, regardless of whether the market is up or down. When prices are high, their money buys fewer units. When prices are low, their money buys more units. Over time, this averages out, and they end up building substantial wealth without ever needing to predict a single thing. Boring? Absolutely. Effective? Extraordinarily. Number 5, they use tax-advantaged accounts nobody talks about at dinner parties. Quick question. Do you know what a Roth IRA is? A 401k? An HSA? Most people have heard of these things. But the invisible wealthy actually use them to their full potential every single year. Here's why this matters. Let's say you invest $500 per month in a regular account versus a tax-advantaged account. In a regular account, your gains get taxed every year. In a Roth IRA, your money grows completely tax-free. That difference, over 30 years, can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's like two people walking the same road. One of them is carrying a heavy backpack called taxes. The other figured out how to check that bag at the door. Same steps, completely different destination. Number 6, they build multiple income streams, one at a time. Let's talk about income for a second. Most people have one job, one paycheck, one point of failure. The invisible wealthy tend to have 3, 4, sometimes 5 income streams. But here's the important part. They didn't build them all at once. They built them sequentially, slowly, quietly. Maybe they started a small side project on weekends. Then that project started generating a few $100s a month. Then they used that money to invest in something else that pays dividends. Then they wrote an ebook, or bought a rental property, or started a small online store. Each stream is small at first, but multiple small streams eventually become a river. And rivers don't run dry the same way a single stream does. Number 7, they read a lot. This one sounds too simple, but stay with me. The average American reads fewer than 4 books a year. The average self-made millionaire reads more than 50. Now, this isn't a coincidence. Knowledge compounds just like money does. Every book about finance, psychology, business, or investing adds a new layer of understanding, new tools, new perspectives. And here's the beautiful thing. This wealth-building tool is completely invisible. Nobody knows you stayed up until midnight reading about index funds or behavioral economics. But that knowledge quietly reshapes how you see every financial decision you make. Number 8, they understand the difference between assets and liabilities and act on it. Rich dad, poor dad. You've probably heard the concept. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out. A car you use for work that earns income? Asset. A brand new luxury SUV you bought to impress people at the school pickup line? Liability. A rental property generating monthly cash flow? Asset. A big house with a massive mortgage that eats your entire paycheck? Liability. The invisible wealthy obsessively acquire assets and carefully limit liabilities. Not perfectly, not always, but as a consistent pattern. And because they're not buying flashy things, nobody around them notices this quiet accumulation of income-producing assets in the background. Number 9, they ignore lifestyle inflation. Here's a trap almost everyone falls into. You get a raise or a bonus, and almost immediately, your lifestyle expands to match it. Nicer car, bigger apartment, better restaurants. Economists call this lifestyle creep, and it's one of the most effective wealth destroyers that exists, because it happens so gradually that most people never even notice it. The invisible wealthy get a raise and nobody around them knows, because their life looks exactly the same. The extra money goes straight into the wealth machine, not the lifestyle upgrade. Number 10, they protect wealth as aggressively as they build it. Building wealth is only half the game. The invisible wealthy have insurance, not just health insurance, disability insurance, umbrella policies, the right legal structures if they own a business. Here's the psychology behind this. Most people spend enormous mental energy thinking about making money and almost zero time thinking about protecting it. One unexpected medical event, one lawsuit, one catastrophic decision, and years of quiet building can be wiped away. Think of wealth like a bucket of water you've been filling, drop by drop, for years. Protection is the lid. Without it, one big splash can empty everything. Number 11, they delay gratification, but they make it easier on themselves. Psychologists ran a famous experiment called the marshmallow test. They gave children one marshmallow and told them, if you wait 15 minutes without eating it, you'll get 2 marshmallows. Some kids waited, some didn't. The fascinating part? The kids who successfully waited didn't use superhuman willpower. They used distraction. They looked away. They sang songs. They turned away from the marshmallow entirely. The invisible wealthy do the same thing with money. They don't white-knuckle their way through every temptation. They make temptation harder to reach. Credit cards off the table. Savings accounts at a different bank that takes 3 days to transfer. Shopping apps deleted. They engineer their environment so the default action is the right action. Number 12. They think in decades, not months. This might be the single biggest mindset shift that separates quiet wealth builders from everyone else. Most people think about money in terms of months. Can I afford this month's rent? Can I pay off this credit card this month? The invisible wealthy zoom out. They think in 10-year blocks, 20-year blocks. They ask different questions. Not can I afford this, but if I spend this money, what future version of myself am I making poorer? Compounding interest is perhaps the most powerful force in personal finance. Einstein reportedly called it the eighth wonder of the world. And it only works if you give it time. Not months, years, decades. A dollar invested at 25 is worth almost 11 times more than the same dollar invested at 45, assuming historical average returns. That's not a small difference. That's a completely different financial life. Number 13. They use debt strategically and avoid it emotionally. There are two kinds of debt: good debt and bad debt. Good debt is debt that helps you acquire something that grows in value or generates income. A mortgage on a rental property. A business loan for equipment that earns more than it costs. A student loan for a degree with clear earning potential. Bad debt is debt you take on to feel something. To feel successful. To feel comfortable. To avoid the discomfort of wanting something and not having it yet. The invisible wealthy are ruthless about eliminating bad debt. A credit card balance at 24% interest is like having a financial leak you can never fully bail out. But they also aren't afraid of smart debt when it amplifies their position intelligently. Number 14. They have a financial anchor, one clear North Star. Here's something subtle but powerful. The invisible wealthy usually have one very specific number or goal that guides every financial decision. Maybe it's a retirement number. Maybe it's a passive income target. Maybe it's a specific net worth by a specific age. This anchor makes decision-making simple. When an opportunity or temptation comes along, they hold it up against the anchor. Does this move me toward it or away from it? If it moves them away, even if it sounds exciting, they walk past it. Without an anchor, every shiny object becomes a detour. Number 15. They make peace with being misunderstood. This last one is the hardest for most people. When you live below your means. When you skip the new car everyone else is buying. When you don't upgrade your phone every year. When you bring lunch to work while colleagues go out, people will say things. You're too cheap. You only live once. What's the point of making money if you don't enjoy it? The invisible wealthy have made peace with this. They've realized something deeply liberating. Other people's opinions about their money cost them nothing. But other people's opinions about your money, if you let them drive your spending, that can cost you everything. They know where they're going. They don't need anyone else to understand the route. Here's the deeper truth underneath all 15 of these ideas. Wealth, real, lasting, generational wealth, is almost never a dramatic story. It's not a lucky stock pick or a viral business that took off overnight. It's 1,000 quiet decisions, made consistently over years, that compound in the background while life happens. There's a concept in behavioral finance called the gap between intelligence and behavior. Almost everyone knows they should save more. Almost everyone understands that investing early is better than investing late. Almost everyone has heard that living below your means builds wealth. The gap isn't knowledge. It's behavior. The invisible wealthy have somehow closed that gap, not by being smarter or more disciplined than everyone else, but by designing their financial life so that the right behaviors become the easy behaviors. They removed friction from good decisions. They added friction to bad ones. And then they waited. Quietly. Patiently. So what do you do with all of this? Start with the gap. Calculate exactly how much flows in each month and how much flows out. If those two numbers are nearly identical, that's your most urgent problem to solve. Pick one thing from today's list that you can implement this week. Just one. Maybe it's setting up an automatic transfer of even $50 into a savings account. Maybe it's opening a Roth IRA. Maybe it's deleting one shopping app from your phone. Progress in wealth building almost never feels dramatic. It feels like nothing is happening. And then, years later, you look at the numbers, and something extraordinary has quietly appeared. That's the whole game. Not fireworks. Just the invisible, patient accumulation of good decisions. Before I close, I want to leave you with this thought. The most powerful wealth-building tool you have isn't a brokerage account or a real estate deal or a side hustle. It's time. And time is the one resource that nobody can buy back. Every month you delay closing that gap between earning and spending is a month of compounding you can never recover. Not because you're failing, but because the clock only runs one direction. The invisible wealthy understood this. Not necessarily at 20. Some of them figured it out at 35 or 42. But when they did, they stopped waiting for the perfect moment and started building in the moment they were in. That moment, it's always right now. If this video gave you even one idea worth keeping, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to go deeper on any of these concepts, we've got a lot more where this came from. See you in the next one.